Welcome to the Startup Grind. Can you talk about what are some of the? I mean, Y Combinator. It's clear they provide financing. There's some mentorship there, but what are as somebody that's now been a part of two companies that have been invested through that program.
Yep.
What are some of the tangible benefits that people get from, or intangible benefits
Right.
that you wouldn't think about they get through going through Y Combinator?
So there's a bunch of them. I think that, like, for us, one thing that was really valuable was having all these alumni and just being part of this network of other startups. I mean, we were building a service that, whose initial users at least included a bunch of other startups. And so having kind of all these other people who we knew that were building startups, and being able to say to them, oh, you guys should use Stripe, instead of having them want to help us because we're a fellow Y Combinator company, I mean, that was just super valuable for us. In that basically other Y Combinator users were our users, and I think maybe our first 10 or 20 users were all YC companies. So that was really helpful. I guess, I presume, like many, if not most of the people here have startups themselves, and it turns out that startups are really hard. And just like having a bunch of other people around you who are sort of doing the same thing and like get that, I think is really, really nice and valuable. But actually, I think that Y Combinator talk quite a bit about, I think more than most sort of similar incubators or whatever you call that class of like seed funding entities. I think that they talk sort of more than most about what their value is and what they do, and they have actually this like really detailed document on the YC site describing just like what YC is and what you do. And they talk about sort of some of the benefits, like that they have a ton of data, like they see hundreds of companies, and so they can just kind of apply sort of aggregated other companies' experience to your experience and just sort of provide helpful data-driven advice in that way, or the alumni network or whatever it is. But I feel like YC can't actually sort of kind of, it's difficult for them to talk about the biggest advantage of YC, which is simply that Paul and their partners are really smart. And I feel like they can't really sort of write this document that sort of, you should do YC because we're really smart. But I think that's actually kind of the best reason to do YC, in that like Paul initially and the other partners, and now the other partners who've joined, are just really, really, really good. And I mean, I guess with Stripe we've been kind of lucky where we got to, or like do get to work with like lots of good investors, but like there's no question that YC are at the like very top tier.
And when you say good and smart, are you talking about like product feedback or execution or technology, or
Right.
what exactly do you mean by that?
Yeah, so there was this about a month ago or something, there was this meme going around Facebook of like what my mom thinks I do and like what my friends think I do and like whatever else for like all these different professions.
Yeah.
And I feel like the world thinks startup founders are like thinking all these strategic thoughts and like reclining in their chair thinking how to deal with the next big threat or whatever it is, and or like what the next giant breakthrough will be. Whereas in fact most of your time is spent like this particular thing is broken and the person who is going to fix it like had to go home and now like you have to fix it, or like this investor has this question, you need to produce this document, and like it's just like it's the all these distractions one after another. Like I think basically the experience of doing a startup is just like dealing with distractions in serial. And I mean, sometimes the issues are actually huge, like you're trying to like close this round or this big deal, and there's some like recalcitrant investor or like stressful thing happening, or it's I don't know how to talk to this customer, or like whatever it is, but it really kind of spans the gamut. And I think, like to your question, like what are they actually good at? I think Paul and the other partners are really good at like just like getting that. I mean, they've done companies and they've seen this happen like literally thousands of times in other companies, and so whether the issue is like closing this round or doing this big deal or this acquisition or whatever, or it's just like how should the sign up button work, they have pretty good advice, and that has made a big difference to Stripe.